What's up, family? What's up, family? It's your boy King El Bey. Wait on everybody to get here. We don't break some of this down. So let me get everybody. Let me get this. Let me get everybody in here and start to see what's going on. Let's go. Let me just shut that door, please. Okay. Waiting on everybody to come in. Waiting on everybody to come in. I'm waiting on everybody to come in. Peace and love, family. Peace and love. I'm waiting on everybody to come on in. Come on in. Come on in. I'm trying to see everybody come on in. I need everybody to come on in. Trying to see where I can see it on the chat through Facebook. Okay. Let me go through my sign out. Let me switch accounts. Let me go to the Moorish Union of Sovereign Tribes. Let's go to that account. Let me see. Let me see. Why is it doing that? Let me see what's going on. Why are they going to the Moorish Union of Sovereign Tribes account? Just trying to I'm trying to get everything going, family. The Moorish Union. So what's up, everybody? This is your boy King El Bey. I'm waiting for more people to come on in. Come on in. I want you to like and subscribe to the channel. I haven't been, I don't be on doing this now. I realize I really got to stay focal, very on point with this, and then, astute. I'm trying to change and switch the account. Trying to see why it's not all the channels are showing up. Why my kids they always messing with my stuff. Let me see if I can go to the Moorish Universal Society of Tribes YouTube channel. I'm trying to go. Hold on. Let me go here. Let me go to. Let me go to YouTube. I guess it's okay. Well, I'm just gonna have to do it from this. I'm gonna figure it out. What's up, Islam? Islam. Okay, I got a few people in the building. I need more. Come on, family, before I get started. Cause I'm gonna break down some information for y'all so y'all can really see what's really going on. I'm gonna really break this down for y'all to show y'all how this jurisdiction works. So I'm trying to get a few more people to come on in. Come on in so I could drop this science. So peace, 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 family, peace, peace. Pro St. Mo's, Chief Vanderlei in the building. Come on, family, come on in. Drop this on y'all real quick. So I did a video and I broke it down today about the Federal Reserve System. So we're gonna get into it. People gonna have to catch back up with the video. So I'm gonna break this down to y'all so y'all can see, right, dealing with the Federal Reserve, and I'm gonna show y'all something about the Federal Reserve System, right? And I need y'all to understand how this jurisdiction works. Let's keep it going. Let's go. So let's go. We dealing with the see in the video. I got a video right, and I'm a post the video in the link. Y'all need to watch the video so y'all can really come back and ask more questions. Right? I'm gonna post this video in the link. I'm gonna post this video in the link. Let me show y'all. I'm gonna post this in the link. Y'all need to hold on. Y'all need to watch this video when you got time. So let's get into it, family. Let's get into what's going on with the Federal Reserve System, and so y'all can understand how y'all getting into this relationship with the Federal Reserve, and I'm gonna show you where the jurisdiction is stemming from. Okay, so this is chapter 12 USC, chapter 3, Federal Reserve System, Banks and Banking, chapter 3, Federal Reserve System. Chapter 1, Definition, Organization, and General Provisions Affecting the System. So when you see general provisions, okay, I want y'all to understand we're going to come back and we're going to look at general law. We're going to look at this is dealing with military. I'm going to show y'all some general law. I'm going to show y'all when you go under Ohio Falls, you're going to look at the general provisions. So this is not dealing with special, it's dealing with general provisions. It's all in your codes. We're going to come back to this, but first I'm going to hit y'all with this information, right? So we're going to go through a little bit. Federal Reserve districts, membership of national banks. They're going to tell you what it is. And now we're going to go there. Banking Act of 1933, the Banking Act of 1935. Okay, y'all got to go through this. In my video, I go through a little bit of this, and I'm not going to be on here for 2 or 3 hours like I did last night. I want to go through this kind of swift so y'all guys can see it. So now we down here with chapter 1, definitions, organizations, and general provisions affecting the system. Okay, family, I need y'all to understand. So it says wherever, starting here, wherever the word bank is used in this chapter, the word shall be held to include state banks, banking associations, trust companies, except where national banks or Federal Reserve banks are specifically referred to. For the purpose of this chapter, a state bank includes any bank which which is operating under the code of law for the District of Columbia. I need y'all to understand. It's operating under the code of law for the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia laws has been adopted by Congress. I need y'all to understand this. They have tricked you into believing a lot of these U.S. codes. They have been adopted by the USC. Some of these you got to look at these laws. So it says the term national bank and national banking association is used in this chapter shall be held synonymous and interchangeable. The term member bank shall be held to mean any national bank, state bank, or bank trust company which became a member of the Federal Reserve banks. The term board shall mean the board of governors of the Federal Reserve System. The term district shall be held to mean Federal Reserve District. The term reserve bank shall be held to mean Federal Reserve Bank. The term continental United States shall mean the states of the United States in the District of Columbia. I need y'all to understand that. So when they're talking about the continental United States, what are they talking about? They're talking about the landmass of the United States. So there are 48 states. The term bonds and notes of the United States. bonds and notes of the government of the United States, and bonds or notes of the United States used in this chapter shall be held to include certificates of indebtedness and treasury bills issued under section 3104 of Title 31. I'm not going to go into all of that. We'll break this down. I'm going to do some more classes so you can see, so we can follow. Y'all got to understand what they talk about source of funds. Y'all need to know what that term source of funds means, family. Y'all need to understand what the term source of funds means. Make sure I'm going to put this in the chat. Source of funds. And let me break this down to you why you need to understand source of funds. To be able to trace back yes, ma'am. Okay, it's the charger. Go in there and have them charge it up for you. So when we talk about the source of funds, you need to understand in reference what they're talking about, the source of the funds. Family, y'all need to understand that, the source of funds. Right? So let's continue on to this, right? So let's go on. Let me break this down. So let's go down to section. We're gonna go here, but we're gonna go here first. It says 222 Federal Reserve District membership of national banks. The continental United States, excluding Alaska, shall be divided into not less than 8 or more than 12 districts. Such districts may be readjusted and new districts may from time to time be created by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, not to exceed 12 in all. I'm going to show you that. Provided that the district shall be apportioned with due regard of the convenience and customary course of business. Hold on 1 second. Hey, do me a favor, Kenny Boo. I asked y'all to plug the phone up for me. I'm teaching the class. Give me 1 second, family. I asked y'all to plug this up. If I ask y'all again, I'm gonna make y'all all go to bed. She keeps coming in here bothering me. Help her. Just help her. So let me break this down again. The Federal Reserve District membership of the national banks, the continental United States, exclude Alaska, shall be divided into not less than 8 nor more than 12 districts. Such districts may be readjusted and new districts may from time to time be created by the Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve System, not to exceed 12 in all, provide that the district shall be apportioned with due regard. Hold on 1 second. Shut this door, Ruru. Shut this door, King. Put something in this hole. I'm sorry, family. So, it says, provided that the district shall be apportioned with due regard to the convenience and customary course of business, and shall not necessarily be court timber. I don't know this word. Terminus with any state or states. Such district shall be known as the Federal Reserve District and may be designated by numbers when the state of Alaska or Hawaii hereafter admitted into the Union of the Federal Reserve District shall be readjusted by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in such a manner as it includes such state. Every national bank in any state shall, upon commencing business or 90 days after admission into the union of the state which is located, become a member of the Federal Reserve by subscribing and paying for stock in the Federal Reserve Bank of its district in accordance to the provisions of the chapter, and shall thereupon be an assurance bank under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act, and failure to do so shall subject bank to the penalty provided under 501A of this title. So I need y'all to understand what's going on. Now, these they reorganized under a union. Now let's break this down. That's why I said y'all got to go watch that video I put in the chat. Now let me share the screen. Let me show y'all how this works. Hey, Abdullah.
Peace, King. Peace.
Peace.
All right.
So let me show everybody how this works. They're broken down into districts. Districts. You got District 1, right? You got Maine. I guess MA. I don't think that's Maryland. You got Rhode Island, Connecticut. And they broke it down in each district. All of these are districts. So when you see the state of New York, the state of Ohio, the state of Texas, they are banks. You are dealing with a federal district. And then you have a federal district court in every section of these districts. Now, I want you to understand the District of Columbia is not a state. It's not a part of the union. This is why all of these are federal districts. So the state of Ohio is a district of the District of Columbia. Let's go back. Let me show y'all what I'm referencing. So when you go in here, so you got to remember the United States do not have a treaty with the Federal Reserve System. You're dealing with Federal Reserve notes. You got to understand the source of law. So all of these are under the code of what? The District of Columbia. All of these states that you see under these provisions, the state of New York, it's not New York State Republic, Ohio State Republic, Indiana State Republic, Kentucky State Republic. These are not this is not what's going on. So you got to understand the source of law, dealing with the source of funds. This is how you understand how to file proof of claim. United States cannot bring you in the court without what? Proof of a debt or proof of claim. They got to. So they give you what? The Social Security number, the EIN number, the ITIN number. These are all tax identification numbers that you volunteer to pay the tax debt of the United States. A tax ain't nothing more than a lien. You are a foreign alien, meaning that you have a lien on your estate. I'm going to continue this and break this down so that we can start then appropriating the law correctly. So we'll know how to implement pleadings. We'll know how to address the court based on whatever application that you're filing, dealing with the appropriation of law so that they can stop misappropriating. So let's go back. Let's go back. Let me break this down. So let's go back here. Let me stop sharing. Let's go back here. And now let me share the screen here once again so I can show y'all this is not what I'm saying. We're dealing with the source of law, dealing with these things right here. The continental United States exclude shall be provided into not less than 8 nor more than 12 districts. Such districts may be readjusted as new districts may from time to time be created by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, not exceeding 12 at all, provided that the district shall apportion with due regard the convenience and customary course of business and shall not necessarily be contemporaneous with any state or states. Such districts, understand, such districts shall be known. Tell you right here, such districts shall be known as Federal Reserve districts and may be designated by number when the state of Alaska or Hawaii is hereafter admitted into the Union of the Federal Reserve. Districts shall be readjusted by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in such a manner as to include such state. Every national bank in any state shall, upon commencing business and within 90 days after admission into the union of the state in which it is located, become a member of the Federal Reserve System, subscribing and paying for the stock in the Federal Reserve Bank of the district in accordance with the provision of the chapter, shall thereupon be an insured bank under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act. Failure to do so shall subject the bank to penalties provided by Section 501A of this title. So I'm showing you, once they reorganized under a new union under a District of Columbia. Let's go back. Whenever the word bank is used in this chapter, I'm going back over it. The word shall be held to include state banks, bank association, trust companies, except where national banks or Federal Reserve banks are specifically referred to. For the purpose of this chapter, a state bank includes any bank which is operating under the code of law for the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia. This is why every one of these chapters, once again, we're going to go back. What are they? They are districts. These are districts. These are districts under a membership. This is why when you talk about dealing with the internal revenue service, internal, what do internal mean? Right? Let's go to the word contort, whatever that word was in blacks under this. This was the word. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna stop sharing this so y'all can see the word. What I'm talking about. This was the word I couldn't really say.
Coterminous.
Coterminous, right? What do that say? Having the same borders or limits. This is why they have limited jurisdiction, because it's limited to the subject matter. You have the same borders because you're in the state of dealing with the what? Membership, dealing with the Federal Reserve System as a banking. So when you go to the state of New York, you are in the Federal Reserve System. I understand you dealing with the Federal Reserve System. So it tell you in the code, this was the word, having within the same borders, it talk about the states or limits. So the states ain't nothing but agencies. They are in the District of Columbia. And it's all funded. Why? This is why I say y'all need to understand what the source of funds mean. So let me break this down to y'all so y'all understand the source of funds. Let's see if I can pull this up.
Hey, King.
Yeah.
I want we like to do a future presentation where we look at the 1783 definitive peace treaty between Great Britain and the United States, whereby His Britannic Majesty relinquished, thereby delegating authority to the 13 states to operate within the survey longitude latitude of the that's draft that's in the 13 colony charters. So it's using that because there are cases, and they are under the Duncan patent, 1686 Duncan patent. Thomas Duncan was the governor of the colony of New York, and they're under that Duncan patent. The trustees were established and protected under that Duncan patent of Southampton, towns in Rhode Island. All right, so towns were created and also operate under that Duncan patent. So you have. I'm just so I want to bring these forth. Let people know that these that the treaty between Great Britain, because the treaties are the law of the land. All
Right.
right. Society versus New Haven, 1823. The Society of the New Gospel of the Society of the Gospel of the Propagated Faith versus New Haven, and the that the pre-revolutionary war rights. The claim was that Society of the Propagation of the Society of the Propagated Faith was that the Revolutionary War extinguished pre-Revolutionary war rights, and that was not the case. The ruling is that the Revolutionary War did not extinguish pre-Revolutionary war rights. All right, just like 1491, the Treaty of Grenada, where Abu Muhammad surrendered the territorial sovereignty to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, but not the personal rights of the Moors. The personal rights of the Moors of that 1491 Treaty of Grenada are protected in that treaty. All right, so we're looking at the law of nations. So there, so that same principle, 1491, also is applied in the Society versus New Haven case. So yeah, so I like to, I wanted to bring that point in, because I know a lot of conscious Moors are not aware of this. They're not aware of this. So I just wanted to add these points in as you're discussing this. All right, you're doing a great job, brother.
Okay. Thank you, brother. I need y'all to understand what Abdullah just said. See, when you litigated me, when things that my senses go off about everything he said, they're using presumptive law, presumptive jurisdiction. That's a real jurisdiction. Until you present a proof of claim to dismantle what they're saying. So we got to go to the contracts. What is the contract? That is the memorandum of law. Okay? In your pleading, you use the treaty, the contract, and then you use an affidavit in support of the treaty with the exhibits showing the what? Geographical location and the rights that was conferred in the agreement, showing the rights of the two signatory parties based on how they supposed to treat you. That's where the word treaty come from. When you understand what you're listening for in the particular elements, you know how to argue your case. So treaties are law of the land. treaties. So when you go into the court and you're dealing with these matters, you got to dismantle, you got to disqualify the jurisdiction. You got to disqualify it. And then you got to put it in a proper venue that can deal with such treaty matters. That's why we got to get organized, folks. Y'all think that they just saying, oh, you Moors, and y'all thinking that Moor is a bad thing. Let me explain to y'all something about being a Moor. There's money on the table with these contracts. Let me tell y'all, when they talking about politics on the international scale, they talking about business, big business. We're talking about big business. Until we can enforce these treaties, you know how much money we're talking about? Probably over trillions of dollars. Y'all worried about pennies on the dollar. When we understand what Abdullah's saying, why we got to get organized, we need to do this so we can get that money. Y'all not touching that money on the table. Y'all not touching it. I'm giving you the thing to critically think and assess when you're dealing with these courts and dealing with the issues at hand, how they're subjugating our rights, why they're misclassifying you to put you in a category so they can strip you of your rights of contract. So they can say, we don't owe y'all no money. We're going to throw you in jail because you're dealing with these Federal Reserve notes within this federal district, right? So we can keep stealing from you and your children, your grandchildren, your children's children's children. This is the name of the game. But I want to continue in dropping this science so you will understand when you get in front of these people what is actually going on. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to do a class on pleadings and proper arguments and dismantling and collaterally attacking the jurisdiction. So you know that they're dealing with the laws of the what? District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a state. And they're trying to bring legislation in now to make it a state, but it's not a state. It's not a state of their union. They're contracting. There's some private land dealing with some private contracts, dealing with a private Federal Reserve system, dealing with Federal Reserve notes. That is the property of the Federal Reserve, and you're on the public side acting as a federal agent. And you volunteer to agree to pay these taxes under contract. And the only way they can pull you in the court if it's evidence or proof of claim of a debt. And I break this stuff down as I continue this, but I just wanted to show you the source of law so that you can't say King said nothing. I showed you in the codes and what's going on. There are 11 federal districts in which all of these states are under. Let's look at the districts once again. I need y'all to look at these things and pay attention. One, look how small.
Hey, King, real quick, before you go into that, because you is that going back to, you made some great points that I wanted to just, really bring home, that treaties are the law of the land. And under our noses, this is why I bring up cases after cases after cases after cases, so as to explain to conscious Moors, Europeans, unconscious Moors, they can see that underneath our noses, ongoing, these treaties are being litigated. You have these Spanish land grant cases. Spanish land grant cases that were Spanish land grants granted to Spanish subjects and soldiers during the 15, 16, 1700s. United States set up the land grant office. The United States Congress enacted the land grant office to deal with the Spanish land grant cases. There's in Connecticut, the new and I mean in Colorado and Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, California. You have these Spanish land grant cases, Texas. So I was not aware of this, but I am now aware of this. So treaties are the law of the land. United States became the custodials or trustees of the Spanish land grant cases when through the treaty when United States took over the territorial sovereignty from the United States of Mexico, and then through the Treaty of Guadalupe of 1854, whereas United States of Mexico, prior to that treaty, was the trustee of the Spanish land grants. So now the United States says, so there's an obligation because those are personal rights. The Spanish land grants granted under the Spanish crown, because that's Spanish sovereignty. So you're talking Spanish land grant comes about through Spanish sovereignty. Those are personal rights. So these things are under our noses. I'm just raising our attention to them. The treaties are law of the land. So King is bringing these points up, but he's also, what King is doing is pointing to the ultimate remedy. He's pointing to the ultimate remedy of our organizing politically, all right, so that we can position ourselves politically to enforce the treaties, all right? So he's doing a great job because he continues to bring that home, all right? And I just wanted to support that point and make it strong, all right, so that we can make a great point. All right, peace.
Okay. So let's look at these districts, right? And I just want y'all to pay attention. There are 11 districts, okay, in this 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me see, we're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Even Puerto Rico is a part of the first district. You got the U.S. Virgin Islands. They are part of District 3. You got Alaska, Hawaii, and Guam, a part of District 9. Hold on 1 second.
So King is doing a wonderful job in his explanation. And I said, and also, as I said earlier, is to make that connection of the foundation, because the 1783 Treaty of Paris between Great Britain and United States, the 1783 Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and United States is the foundation for the 13 original states to operate on the land. The Moors Authority is not the foundation for them. All right? Because remember that through Spanish conquest, through English, British conquest and colonization, English/Great Britain established extended English British sovereignty on our land through conquest and colonization, and issued charters on this English sovereignty through conquest and colonization, and within the boundaries, because they took over from the Dutch. They took over from the Dutch in New York and Camden and other areas in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, took over from the Dutch. All right, and then so extended English British sovereignty. So the English charters is extension of English British sovereignty on land. Within the charters are the boundaries. His Britannic Majesty, on Article 1 of the Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and the United States, relinquished to the 13 states, thereby granting the authority. So the foundation, the Federal Reserve Bank is not the foundation. The Federal Reserve Bank, the Federal Reserve the foundation for them to operate upon the land is that treaty between Great Britain and the United States. They're bound to that. But you guys, King said, you have to bring the source of law, which is a treaty. The treaties are the law of the land, right? We continue to reiterate these points as King, talks about these points, and he'll continue to bring these points of treaty matters as being the foundation and the law of the land.
Hey, give her the phone. Kenny. Give her the phone. Kenny.
Also, so this is why we need the knowledge, as I was saying earlier, when I was talking to Brother Kono, knowledge as individuals. There's no power in that. There's no power in operating on knowledge as individuals. The power is operating with the knowledge in a political structure. So King has the knowledge, Shim has the knowledge, I have the knowledge, Pacola has knowledge, Akona has the knowledge, Quasi has the knowledge. That's all right. But our operating in political structure with that knowledge is where the power is. Not individualism. Individual conscious Moors. Individual conscious Moors. Individual conscious Moors. Individual, that's no power in that. The power is in political structure, political, national, political unity principles. This is why a constitution. What is a constitution? When you say the word people, the word people, the people used in a political sense is the repository of the collective sovereignty of the people. Drafted in a national constitution is the nationality, national identity of the people and the national name of the nation state. That national constitution clothes you. You're clothed with that. So understanding a constitution represents the collective sovereignty of a people vested in that constitution and exercised through their elective qualified representatives. So once we need to understand these principles really, because we will fight like you know what to restore them. Conscious Moors don't know enough. All right, so I'll continue to talk. You ready, King?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So dealing with even in their constitution, right? A lot of y'all don't know how to raise these issues. You do not argue the Constitution. You do not argue statutory law. Corporations only can talk through statutes. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You use those instruments as evidence in relationship to the treaty. It's an exhibit. You do not use it in pursuant to. You're not part and parcel to the jurisdiction, so you use those instruments as an exhibit in relationship to the treaty. You get certified copies, so then you can present this, because that's the only way the corporation can talk. Through its legislative bodies, through its legislative agencies. Now you can hold them under what they said, hold their head under the water. You do not go in there and argue in pursuant to, in accordance with. I used to do that. Now I understand. You want your food? Okay. So what I'm trying to get everyone to understand is how to litigate, presenting evidence on a proof of claim argument. When you see the word bill, that means an obligation that is due. That's why under the first 10 Bill of Rights is a bill. Those are due process, meaning they are due. They cannot be waived for anything. They are inalienable. When you talk about fundamental rights. So let's understand what the internal revenue system is in relationship to this document right here that I'm showing you, these 11 federal districts. So let's get into the wordplay of understanding what the Internal Revenue Service means. So let's go to Black's Law and let's look at the term. Now, remember, I showed you the word contemporaries, whatever that word was, and it said within the boundaries of the jurisdiction. So let's look at the word internal. Relating to the interior, comprised within the boundaries lines of interior concern or interest, domestic as opposed to foreign. So the internal, you're in the boundaries of their jurisdiction. Now let's go to revenue. Okay? So you will understand when you're volunteering for these things, they're trying to strip you of your treaty rights. They're saying you waived your rights in accordance to treaty. Okay, wait a minute, mama. Okay, hold on 1 second. So let's go here. Let me show you revenue. Let's blow this up. Return, yield, as of land, right? Profit that returns or come back from an investment, the annual or periodical rents, profits, interest, or issuance of a species of property, real or personal income. I really need y'all to soak that in. When we talking about the Internal Revenue Service, they brought you back into their using their interest of these Federal Reserve notes. That is intellectual property rights. This is why they have a tax lien. That's why you come into the jurisdiction. You are a foreign alien, meaning that they have a lien on you and you are not unalienable. You need to understand this all the way around. So you can start understanding these districts that you're in dealing with these Federal Reserve notes. So if you jump over there in that jurisdiction, then you got to understand what you're doing. So let's talk about a tax identification number once again. Because a lot of you guys dealing with child support, dealing with y'all cases, you don't have a tax exemption number. So let's look at the word exemption, immunity, and let me show you what the word is classified as. Let me stop sharing. Okay, let's go to here. This is just a recap.
Hey, King, and looking at the word exemption, because that means that an obligation exists. An obligation exists. Like for instance, you have an obligation to pay me for 6 months, $1,000 for 6 months. You have an obligation. Then we work out something where you will be exempt from paying that $1,000 for a year. I mean, the obligation exists. The obligation exists. So let's start from that point. When we talk exemption, we start from the point that an obligation first exists.
It did exist.
It does exist. The obligation exists. All right. The obligation is being waived. So when you use, because conscious Moors are not aware of this, so that's important that I articulate this. When conscious Moors use the word exempt, they understand. They don't have the understanding of it. When they use the word exempt, they're using it in the sense that an obligation does not exist. No, we start with that an obligation does exist, and the obligation is being weighed conditionally. All right. So is the word exempt would not apply to us as we're not part and parcel of the United States. All right. There's an obligation. All right. Remember, we're under subjugation and conquest. All right. This is why we have to restore government structure so that we can address the issue of the subjugation. The Great Britain, subjugated us, and that subjugation continued. So we don't start with the United States. When you're talking the conquest, we're talking conquest and colonization and subjugation of the Moors. The extension, we don't begin with the United States. We have to talk Spain. We have to bring Spain, France, Portugal, England / Great Britain, the Dutch Republic, the Netherlands into the picture. All right, first, when we go to the world body and you only mention the United States, we will lose. If you're talking conquest, subjugation, mass denationalization, and you only mention the United States, we will lose because you are heaping colonization, all of that on the United States. Colonization, subjugation, land theft, you leave all that on the United States. What about Spain? Portugal? What about, you're not going to the 1600s, 1700s? What about Spain and Portugal? France? Why we don't mention them? Why is United States? United States, United States, United States, United States. So we got to go to Moors and Masonry Part 1. We need to know the history. All right. I just wanted to bring that in because we have to bring these points in. Let me another point. Let me just so I can present because like I said, that exhibits. So the 1952 case between France and the United States in the International Court of Justice. There was three types of treaties that were used to determine the extent of the United States consular jurisdiction in Morocco. The primary type of treaties that was used was the Moorish bilateral treaties with 10 European powers from 1631 to 1892. France stood on Moorish treaties to win her most favorable nation case against the United States. That is a stare decisis case in the International Court of Justice. So why don't Moors stand on Moorish treaties? Why do conscious Moors stand on United States Constitution? Hold on, France stood on Moorish treaties. I'm trying to scratch my head. France stood on Moorish treaties to win her case, most favored case against the United States. But conscious Moors stand on the United States Constitution. That's interesting. Something to make you go, I yield the floor, King.
Okay. Now, I want y'all to understand when I'm talking in reference to this information, when we're dealing with, I want y'all to understand the Moors do not have treaties with the Federal Reserve System. What Abdullah is addressing, I need y'all to articulate this. He's dealing with the various nation states that we have treaties, dealing with land rights, dealing with international land rights dealing with rights referred to treaties under under that particular contract. We're talking about law. When you're dealing with law, it's very absolute and specific and very absolute. So I need y'all to understand that. Okay. Hold on 1 second, family. Y'all gonna buffer. Maybe I'm teaching the class. I'm teaching the class. I'm teaching the class. In the room. So, family. So this is what I want to say. Immunity, exemption as from service in a office or performing duties which the law generally requires other citizens to perform. I'm going to repeat this once again. Exemption, immunity means exemption as from service in an office or performing duties which the law generally, we're talking about general law. When you're dealing with the general law of the United States in general provisions, right? That is the source and application of law in which they're using on their citizens. General law. You need to understand this. So, when you're dealing with the Federal Reserve System, that is a totally different application as reference to the treaties. So a lot of us are dealing with the Federal Reserve notes. I need y'all to understand that. There is no treaty that the Moors have any relationship with dealing with the Federal Reserve notes. Those are two different explicit arguments. Baby, I'm on a live. No. I need y'all to be quiet for a second.
King is doing a wonderful job here and explaining.
So I just want y'all to understand, when you come over to the Federal Reserve System, you are dealing with another creature. That's a different creature. I need y'all to understand that. And you are participating. We need to argue treaty. So when you understand, when I talk to y'all about dealing with your immunity or exemption, dealing with Federal Reserve notes, you need to have a tax exemption. And I will talk about dealing on another class, dealing with the proper authorities under treaty. Because if you're going to deal with the United States, you got to stay within the proper jurisdiction. That means you have to deal with those three branches of government only, exclusively. The Federal Reserve branch they masqueraded and hid it in plain sight so that you wouldn't know the difference, so that they can acquiesce you to a jurisdiction and have you subjugate your rights under this provision. And it's not even constitutionally, under that constitution, permitted. But because they found loopholes, they was able to address these things and perform actions that, if you don't argue treaty rights and you don't understand what your relationship is, then you're going to lose. That's why political legitimacy and social reform is so important, so that you can understand. I'm trying to teach you what you're dealing with, so you can see it with your own eyes. So you guys that's having child support issues, you go fill out a W-2 form. These are under the tax Internal Revenue Service. So let's go to the Internal Revenue Service, United States. Let's look at the let's look at a diagram of the internal of diagram of the Treasury and Internal Revenue Service, so you can see the relationship. You can see the relationship. I need you to see these things. I need you to see. Let me see this. Secretary of Treasury staff. I want to see Internal Revenue Service. No, I want to see the diagram of the trade. I want to show you that one. Well, let me start here first, right, family? Why are you doing it? So, let me show y'all something. The diagram, right? Let's go here. You don't get it. I ain't taking you nowhere. So, I want you to look at the Treasury, right? This is the Secretary of Treasury, the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, and then look at all of the departments. I want you to pay attention to the Office of Foreign Asset Control. So when you come under the Foreign Asset Control, they're controlling your assets. Office of Tax Policy. I want to show you the relationship so you can start understanding this is about relationships. This is about your relationship. This is why everybody wants your social, your EIN, and everything. So let's go here. Stop sharing. Nom 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 nom. 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 I want to show y'all something, right? I want to show y'all something. Oh, let me see if I can stop sharing. I'm trying to pull up. Let me just do it like this. Let me pull up a whole nother. Let me do this. U.S. Treasury relationship with the Internal Revenue Service. Let me pull this up. I'm going to show y'all something. It says the Internal Revenue Service is the Bureau of the U.S. Department of Treasury. Let me say this to you again. The U.S. Treasury relationship with the Internal Revenue Service. It says the Internal Revenue Service is a bureau of the U.S. Department of Treasury. Its primary responsibility is to access and collect tax revenue in the United States. The IRS dates back as 1862 when President Abraham Lincoln enacted the national first income tax to pay for the Civil War. Okay? I need y'all to understand that the Department of Treasury falls under the executive branch. And the Internal Revenue Codes are adopted by the United States codes. So let's look at this. Now I need to show you this. It says that the Internal Revenue Codes, which constitute the domestic portion of the federal tax law of the United States, is codified under 26 USC. So let's go to 26 USC. So y'all can understand that you're dealing with a dual jurisdiction. You're dealing with the Federal Reserve. You're dealing with the executive branch and the legislative branch at the same time, dealing with the management of a Federal Reserve System. And the Federal Reserve System is the majority owners. That's why it's a democracy, because democracy means mob rule, where they're ruling over these federal districts. And they own the majority shares and control the outcome of everything dealing with that Federal Reserve System. So y'all can stop getting it misconstrued. So let's go to 26 USC so we can stop playing this game. Let's deal with it. So y'all can see that these are the tax codes. Normal taxes. These codes, these are internal revenue codes that's been adopted by Congress and turned into a United States code. That's why when you come into a court, you're dealing with the executive branch and the legislative branch at the same time, because Congress have the right to create inferior courts. This is why the executive branch have the right of enforcement, because you're touching two simultaneous jurisdictions, and all of these 48 states, 50 states, you are dealing with a federal district. And these laws are adopted by out of the District of Columbia. So I just want to show you this. This is your tax law. Let me stop sharing. Let's go to the District of Columbia. So let me share the screen and I'm gonna show y'all once again so you can start looking at your relationship with things. So I want you to understand the District of Columbia has significant relationship to the United States codes. They adopted these District of Columbia codes and turned them into United States codes. So you didn't know that you was dealing with the District of Columbia. You see how things have been chopped up. It says that the USC is a compilation of federal statutory law enacted by the United States Congress. It covers a wide range of legal types, including taxation, criminal offenses, civil rights, and more. And all courts, tribunals of public office of the United States serve as prima facie evidence of the laws of the United States. District of Columbia. The District of Columbia codes, often referred to the DC codes, contain laws specific to the District of Columbia. Similar to the United States Code, the district codes, along with current supplements, establish prima facie evidence of the laws enforced with the District of Columbia. However, certain laws apply to the District of Columbia due to their status as U.S. law. I didn't say this. However, certain laws that apply in the District of Columbia due to their status as U.S. law, as general and permanent, are exceptions to the rules. Y'all need to understand the exception of the rule doctrine. Let's look up the exception of the rule doctrine. Let me pull this up. Let's go here. Let me show y'all something. So they got a doctrine, and it falls under the exclusionary rules. Under this exclusionary rule doctrine, also known as the exception of the rule doctrine. The exclusionary rule prevents the government from using most evidence gathered into violation of the United States Constitution. Decision in Map versus Ohio established that exclusionary rules applies as evidence gained from an unreasonable search and seizure in violation of the Fourth Amendment. The decision in Miranda versus Arizona established that exclusionary rules apply to improperly elicit self-discriminating statements gathered into the violation of the Fifth Amendment and evidence gained in situations where government violates the Sixth Amendment right of counsel. However, the rule does not apply in civil cases, including deportation hearings and etc. I need y'all to understand the rules do not apply. So let's go here. Let me close out some of these boxes. Let me close out some of these boxes. So y'all, we can get down to the point. I want to show y'all relationship with the Internal Revenue Service So you will understand if you over in that jurisdiction and you talking about you ain't gonna pay no taxes, you're gonna go to jail. I'm gonna tell you this once again. If you're not dealing it from a treaty standpoint, the Federal Reserve System, Moors don't have a contract with, that's dealing with personal property rights. You need to understand all the categories of law. Law is put into different categories so you will understand how this stuff works. So you can understand the source of law, the what? Operation of law, and what? The application of law. Dealing with the proper jurisdiction and venue based on the thing in which you're talking about. Dealing with the subject matter. The subject matter is dealing with the particular thing that you're trying to address. And if you don't know how to put this and shape your head around this, when you get into court, you ain't gonna know what to do. You ain't gonna know how to argue. You ain't gonna know how to deal with this. Because there's a lot of people telling you, hey man, you got this, you got that, you got that. If you don't have no tax exemption number, let's look at a tax. What is a tax exemption number real quick? I want y'all to understand, if you don't have a tax exemption number, I want y'all to understand this. All these cats telling you you gonna come and get some equity, right? Let's look at tax exemption number. So I need you to understand. Let me pull this up so y'all can understand what a tax exemption is. I showed you it's immunity to hold any office. Why am I saying that? Because you're in the federal district. You're not a Federal Reserve agent. Federal Reserve agents take Federal Reserve notes to the bank. Jariah, stop. Be quiet, please. You understand what I'm saying? So, a tax exempt number is assigned by a state agency to identify an organization as exempt from the state sale taxes. So, I need y'all to understand the IRS does not issue numbers specifically for tax exemption organizations. However, a tax exemption are generally required to have used an employee identification number. So, what I want y'all to understand is when you're dealing with these institutions, when you're dealing with the IRS, you got to contact them. You got to understand how to obtain a tax exemption through your religious entity. And let's go to the Internal Revenue so we can get done. This is the last portion. So we can go to their site. Because you have what they call the freedom of religion. I want y'all to understand that you have freedom of religion. Freedom of religion means that there is unencumbered. They can't stop you from exercising your religious rights. Let's go back. I need y'all to understand this dealing with status. When you over in the Federal Reserve System, you dealing with your status. Are you a tax identification number? Are you volunteering to pay taxes? That's the only thing they looking at. They don't care about your other identities because that's the only way they're going to get you in the court. That's why the police officers say, give me your social. That's why when you go do business with a bank, you buy a house. What's your social? What's your EIN number? What is it? So let's go look at this. Let's go ahead and let's get this jumping on this last little portion so y'all can understand applying because y'all dealing with Federal Reserve notes. They tell you, right? Let me just go through this real quick so I can. So I want you to understand they ask you, use this assistant to apply and obtain an employee identification number. So you're gonna go through here. I want you to read this. Let me see this. It says, effective May 21st, 2012, to ensure fair and equitable treatment for all taxpayers. If you're a tax exempt organization or entity, you're not a taxpayer. That means you don't have no duty, no office, you don't have no obligation. Even though they said, okay, we're gonna give you this fair treatment according to your status. Understand, your status is you are tax exempt. So if you're tax exempt, that means you don't have no tax obligation. And the only way the court bringing you into court is you have a tax obligation. I need y'all to understand that. We'll get more into it. View additional types include tax exempt, governmental. You see this? I didn't say this. View additional types, including tax exempt and governmental organization, and none of the above fit what you're establishing. There are several others to choose from. What are they talking about? Including tax exempt and governmental organizations. This is your status. It's tax exempt. So when you go into court and they give you a traffic ticket, you're supposed to have your memorandum of law, your contract, your affidavit in support of your memorandum of your contract, with the exhibit of your tax exemption number identifying your tax status. So let's talk about a church. Let me stop. Let me see if y'all can see this. Let me see, can y'all see that? Let me stop sharing. Let me go to the next screen. Let me show y'all this. I need y'all to understand. So let's click on the church. What is a church? For tax purposes. What they tell you, for tax purposes. Remember, when you're dealing with law and criminality, it's intent and purpose. Always intent. Man's real. If the mind is guilty, you are guilty. So it says for tax purposes. A church referred to an organization claiming to be a church or any convention or association of a church. The word church includes temples, mosques, and other houses of worship to be considered church for tax purposes. So if they keep referencing tax purposes and you have a tax exemption, they're telling you the purpose of your status. A group must be a part of a religious or organized religion. It must have a mission statement. It must be formally organized as a distinct legal entity. Certain characteristics are generally attributed to churches. They include, you can go in and look at this as for yourself, right? Now let's go to a church control entity. A church control organization is a branch of a church including men or women's religious group, religious schools, a mission society, or youth group. They distinctively say men and women. When you go into that court, they're looking at you as a corporate fiction. We talk about status for the purposes of taxes. When you say you it is, and you got the evidence from the IRS, this is irrefutable evidence of your status. With your contracts evidencing with the exhibits of what you are and what you're trying to do. To kill all these presumptions of law. You got to understand this, especially if you're not dealing with the treaties. The purpose of government is to come in and step and protect you. We're not there yet. So I'm giving you some food for thought. This is why we need to be running to come together to form the political legitimacy so we don't have to keep jumping through these hoops every time we encroach by these agencies. That we have to go through all of this work to prove our innocence and guilt when they know our status. When you have the government is going to announce to the world, hey, the Moors are here, and we're here politically and legitimately, and we're here to protect our own. This is why Abdullah is advocating this. This is why I'm in support of Abdullah, so that we can stop trying to do this as an individual and they overwhelm us with the process. Because most of y'all are not as astute as I am. I've been doing this for a long time. You're not going to go in the courtroom and run through it like I do. You're not going to know how the procedures down like I do. So why not get with Abdullah, get with us, let's form this political legitimacy, come back into the fold of Moorish government so you can have your protections. And they know how to properly deal with you because now you have a seat either at the UN or you have a seat somewhere where you can enforce your treaties. You got something to say, Abdullah?
Yeah, you're right on. I want to make an announcement. King and I talked about we're going to structure a course, a 12-week course. King will be teaching a 12-week course in September, and we'll start marketing it after the conference. So we'll start marketing the 12-week course, law course, after the May 18th Moorish Governance, Birthright, and Nationality Claim Conference scheduled here for Philadelphia, in Philadelphia. That's May 18th. That's 800 West Allenby Avenue. So it'll be the course will be 12 weeks, and it'll be $300 for the course. And we're going to start marketing the course in June, and so people will have that time. We're just going to we'll like put it out now, all right. But we won't put the flyer out until June because I said we have this upcoming conference and the cost of the conference, 125 hotels, people. So we won't even put the flyer out. We just, how King and I talked about this before we came on live, and I will help King structure it. That way King can bring in other people to teach so we can have about 25 good 30 40 50 over 100 students, and then we would also have a Telegram study group that we structured on Telegram. So you'll be hearing about this, but I just wanted to put that announcement out. Peace.
So the reason why I did this so people can understand their relationship to what's going on, so they can stop guessing. This is not a guessing game. If you don't know what it is, then it's a guessing game. And now y'all guessing. Y'all throwing darts in the dark at the dartboard. I'm showing you the relationship between you and the Federal Reserve System, dealing with the Federal Reserve notes and dealing with the states of, so you will know there are banks under a union in which you are volunteering when you touch these social security numbers, these EIN numbers, and any other tax identification number, because that is your true identity, because that's the only number they are worried about. They're trying to usurp your rights and say, no, you willfully participated. You didn't bring up no treaties. You didn't go to the proper venue. You didn't have no government officials to come down to protect you, to ensure ain't nobody got sworn in. So when you talking to Keng El Bey, I deal in contracts. I win cases because I understand what the court is about. A lot of y'all don't even understand when they talk about you must be sincere under religious God, under the religious guild, dealing with sincerity. Under Black's law, that means an oath or a pledge. I can take you through the codes and show you how you can defer everything and confer everything, and how you can defeat these claims of presumption by having an evidentiary understanding how to present your claims using the mechanisms with the pleadings so that you can show that you got the law on your side, and that you got when you get the IRS letter, that's evidence from the IRS that can be exhibited. You get a traffic ticket, you can put that on there. You can be like, man, I'm not doing no business. You have to understand these variation of departments and understand this stuff so you can better so that we can better equip ourselves in dealing with this, so that we can stop getting out of balance. So you guys who got child support, who got these cases, all of these different things, I can show you how to properly deal with these things through my own experience. Through my own experience. This is why I'm able to present this information to show you. I'm probably doing next class on showing you the Treasury Department, how to deal with the Treasury and deal in what they call lawful money, dealing with gold and silver, because the United States is bankrupt. And how to show your proof of claim through your depositing of gold and silver through the Treasury, showing that the United States have an obligation. They tell you through their construction of their codes. You're supposed to be on this other side of the fence, acting as a Federal Reserve agent, because they're using presumption of law. All they got is what's in front of them. You ain't gave them no other information. So they be like, okay, we don't know who you is. We don't care about who you is. All we looking at is what we see. When the judge pull up your information, he's going to see that you got a social. He's going to see all your information. He's going to see enough of your information, and he's going to act accordingly. You going to say you were more, that's not going to matter because he's looking at your paperwork within the system. You signed up for selective service, you gave him your social security number. You got a driver's license, you gave him your social security number. You got a passport, you gave him your social security number. That social becomes a tax identification number. You give them an EIN, that's a tax identification number. If you can't clarify that you have a tax exemption and you don't know how to utilize and enforce that tax exemption by collecting evidence and using it as an exhibit, having an affidavit of support with the memorandum of law supporting your case findings, you're going to be in trouble. I'm
Hey, King,
trying to. Okay.
yeah, I want to bring up once again the United States being obligated to treaties, and let me just mention one of the treaties, another treaty here, the Louisiana Purchase Treaty. In 1803, France transferred the sovereignty to the United States. So we had French sovereignty. It was that, so France ceded to Spain in 1662 under the Treaty of Fontbelleu. Great Britain made a deal with Spain to have France cede the Louisiana territory to Spain. So Spanish subjects, the French subjects did not go back to France. The French subjects remained there under Spanish rule. All right. So the French subjects, Spain brought in her subjects as well. So when France ceded to the United States, there were Spanish subjects there as well as French subjects. It was Spain retroceded to France in 1801, and France ceded it to the United States. In Article 3 of that Louisiana Purchase Treaty is a citizenship clause. The French subjects became citizens of the United States. So understand that the United States is obligated to protect those interests of those now United States citizens. Right? That was French subject, now United States citizens. Let's look at the Guadalupe Treaty. They're operating on this, y'all. I gotta keep bringing these up. I have to continue bringing these treaties up. The Guadalupe Treaty, the treaty between the United States of Mexico and the United States. Article 3 is the citizenship clause. The Mexicans had the choice, had 1 year to decide whether to remain Mexican nationals or to become United States citizens through that treaty. The Mexicans could remain Mexican nationals and stay in California, Nevada, New Mexico. All right, they could remain there. Utah, Colorado. All right, so those Mexicans, those Mexicans were protected under that treaty. So this Mexicans crossing the border, that whole nonsense, crap. All right, that nonsense crap talk, Mexican, all that nonsense crap, because a treaty. But of course, the general public's not aware of this. Even though it's taught in the schools, it's taught in the schools, but you graduate from school, it's not. You're not thinking, about the treaty between Mexico and the United States. You get caught up in the propaganda and the McLatees and the Mexicans crossing the border. You get caught up in all that, and you're like, oh man, United States got a treaty with the United States and Mexico, 1854. Oh shucks. Oh, that doesn't. So what I'm doing is bringing this to the forefront, raising these issues to the forefront. They're obligated to these treaties. So the United States Supreme Court justice don't get caught up in all that noise. They don't get caught up in all that noise, because when there's a treaty matter, and this is why King, mentioned about government structure. Because in order for us to raise the treaty matter, it must be done through government structure. And so he's only presenting certain things right now, and you often hear this, King, It's like when Shim and I, pushing the government structure, conscious more say, now, what about right now? Like as if we're not addressing now. As if like so, well, if we don't teach this, how are we gonna prepare? How are we gonna prepare y'all? Because this is not some overnight thing. So if we don't, so hold on. Abdullah, you're wasting your time teaching government structure. Don't teach government structure, Abdullah. You're wasting your time. All right, you guess what? We're gonna stop teaching government structure. So another year goes by, then another year goes by, then another year will go by. But as we continue to teach government structure, you got more and more people growing up in this knowledge. That's what I'm saying. So because you have to prepare the people. You got to continue teaching it to prepare the people to build up the knowledge base. But to say don't teach it, it's ludicrous. We'll never get there. I yield.
So, what we need to understand the importance of government structure. The government is going to act as a trust protector. Its purpose is to protect our individual and personal rights from encroachment of interlopers that are non-contracting parties to infringe on your rights, on your unalienable rights that's preserved and protected by your government. Y'all need to understand this. I'm teaching you the things so that you can understand both sides of the coin, so that you will understand, hey, let me look at what King's saying and Abdullah's saying, and let's weigh everything. I'm going to do it individually, or I'm going to do it under government structure. Which one is going to be harder to deal with? If I keep doing it as an individual, now I got to keep going back and dealing with all of this stuff. But if I help set up government structure, then it's already actions going to be set in place. That's going to be set in stone. That's going to ensure and preserve our rights. But I'm trying to get us to understand this is all about relationships. Okay, I see you.
King is doing a wonderful job. Great, King.
So y'all need to understand this information in totality so that we can better understand what we need to do and address. This is why we need to be coming together, putting this government destruction together. Not only do it protect us, it's money, it's a lot of money on the table. I apologize, family. You got something to say, Abdul?
I'm good, King. I was just I know you had stepped away, and I just wanted to keep the flow going. All right, you good. All right.
So this is the stuff that we need to understand. Everybody keep talking about, man, what about right now? What about right now? What about right now? If we go ahead and the sooner we start doing this together, the sooner we can get it done and be finished with this. Then it won't be nothing else to talk about. Now let's look at the books. Let's see how much money is on the table now. Y'all keep talking about, oh man, now you're going to see why they wanted to subjugate you, because it was a lot of money on the table. Y'all think they just want to, they don't want you because you black. Oh, they don't want you. Now it's money involved. Why you think they keep calling it politics? It's money involved. They don't want to give you no money. They want to make sure you ain't got the money. Y'all want to keep running from the money. Who runs from the money?
Show me the money.
Right. They keep running. They don't want to come together. They want to do it individually because they think these couple of dollars mean something. When there's trillions of dollars probably on the table that they ain't never seen. So we keep running from the money. No, let's run towards the money, get the government structure so we can get the money and keep the money. So now we can build the necessary institutions, the banks, the schools, the colleges, the resources to ensure our survival and our thriving ability in the world. So now we can start doing business all over the world independently, outside of any other group of people. So they can't say, well, them Moors is associated. Now we ain't got nothing to do with that. We ain't got nothing to do with that. That ain't our plight. That ain't our fight. That ain't our business. We got our business with you. So I'm finished here, everybody. Is there any questions? This is Q&A. Do y'all got any questions?
Type your questions in. Type your questions in. Q&A time. Step right on up. Step right on up. Put your questions in. Questions in. Type right on up. Type your questions in.
Ask me anything you want. You can ask me about child support. Ask me about trust. You can ask me about anything you want to about a pleading in a case, appeal, right? Ask
Mm-hmm.
me anything about anything dealing with any of that. If you got a mortgage, what do you need to do? If you got something, ask it. It's the time to ask.
Type your questions in. Type your questions in. Send your picture, send your questions to dear old Captain King. Send them now. Uh,
Nobody got any questions? Ain't no brothers and sisters dealing with mortgages.
they got
Child
this
support.
question. Step right on up. Step right on up and type your questions in. Type your questions in. Send your questions. Come on, y'all.
Not one question.
Mm. All right, we go. All right, what is the first step for status correction?
So I want y'all to understand and think about status. Status is the relationship to persons, places, and things. I need y'all to understand it. Status is your relationship to persons and places and things. So when people tell me about status correction, I need for you to specifically understand what you're asking. What is your relationship to the United States? What is the person? And then you must understand the relationship to the thing. And then you must understand your relationship to the place. So we're talking about what is your relationship with the United States? What is it treaty relationship? What is the thing that you're talking about? You talking about the application of the treaty, right? And it's the place. Where's the place you're talking about? Where's the physical location? So you must understand when everybody talking about status corrections, all we're talking about is your relationship to persons, places, and things. So when you tell me you try to correct your status, I'm trying to help you understand what you're trying to address. So let's put this and shape this into this, right? For right now until we get the government going, right? You're trying to make sure your status in relationship with the Federal Reserve System is a tax exempt status. That's the status that you're looking for. Because that means you don't hold no office over there in their jurisdiction, and you have no obligation. They gave you a pass because why? Under the First Amendment, they said what? Freedom of religion. The freedom of exercising of religion. So that means you are unencumbered to exercise your religious practice. And under that theory, you have a tax exemption. That means based upon your morality and how you think, you don't believe in what they believe in. Because if that Federal Reserve system, that Federal Reserve note become your God, they then going to judge you according to what your God speak on. I need y'all to understand that. If the Federal Reserve System, if you worship money, they're going to treat you accordingly. This is where the word treat T come from. Treat. This is why we need the government so bad. This is why we need the government so bad. So we can stop the mistreatment, the misappropriation of law. So the first status you need to deal with is getting your status dealing with your religious exemption. The second question is, what should a Moor bring a suit if they are alone? Okay.
No, how? How should a Moor bring a suit if they are alone? How should a Moor bring a suit if they are alone?
What kind of suit? You bring in, so let's say a tort action. If you're going to challenge the jurisdiction, which I tell people more is you shouldn't really so much challenge the jurisdiction. This is what they're doing, right? Let's say if you got a tax exempt status, because most of y'all don't. Most of y'all don't even, y'all didn't go about doing that. Y'all been taught the wrong thing, right? So y'all keep going into court and y'all don't have no evidence, no exhibits, no nothing. Y'all don't know. Moors use affidavits to try to move the court all the time. The court don't move off of affidavits. You have to request it. It has to be in the form of a motion or a writ. A motion or a writ. So, let's say they bring a criminal case against you based on something about something dealing with that's violation of your First Amendment religious right. What should you do, or what should you do, right? So they charge you with this whatever crime it is, right? Now you get your memorandum of law, right? Some case law, which you're gonna deal with your First Amendment, right? Then we're gonna look at the application, the affidavit in support of that application. And then you're going to have evidence. You're going to have all your religious documents, which is going to be exhibits, your IRS form. In my state, you can get your Department of Taxation form based on your religious documents. And you're going to get your documents authenticated. Why do I say get them authenticated? You're going, whatever notary that you who sign off on your documents, that witness your documents, you're going to get it authenticated on a state and federal level. Why do I say that? So they recognize, right, that those documents, that notary was a real notary, that notary wasn't a fraud. So now they can't challenge the validity of the notary who put the seal on there. They know that there's a true state officer. Now it weighs a little more heavier versus then you are just having a notary sign it. Now the notary document, because they have to put the notary registry and information into the books. Now that verified that's a true and authenticated notary, and it won't be challenged because now she's a real person. Only thing left to do is they could subpoena that notary into court, verifying that she did put the seal on the document, that she know everything. So now let's say you beat the case, boom, 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 because you understand how to beat the case. Now you will file a suit against them. But the first, who do you want to contact first? You want to deal with the what is that department? Dealing with the bonds, risk management. You want to sue risk management. Why? Because all of these state officers. How you coming here with that? Why you gonna come in here knowing? So you want to deal with risk management. Why you want to deal with risk management? Because they're the ones who hold the bonds for all these officers. You want to sue risk management. You want to file a complaint with risk management. You want to sue them. You want to go down and you want to pull the records. You want to pull their bonds. You want to sue them because you got evidence now that they charged you and they lost. They didn't have enough to charge you. They didn't have evidence to charge you. That's slander of your name. That's slander of your name. So you gonna pull their bonds and you gonna sue them. Guaranteed, once you have all the evidence presented to risk management, they're gonna settle that account. Yeah, it's per state. You gotta look up your own risk management, right? So they got the other question, Abdullah.
What are the steps to form an organized government? All right. The major step that quite a few over my observation for 30 years of observation, the major step that quite a few conscious Moors have overlooked is community outreach. They overlooked that, King. They overlooked the people. I mean, for some reason, that my observation of 30 years, all right, they overlook the people. They'll, they overlook the people as they don't see this. They don't see building relationship in the community and rapport in the community to facilitate political legitimacy, the will of people. They don't see that as important they don't see that as a step. They don't see that as a step at all. So they get 3 or 4 people together and, people don't matter. And I mean, that ain't a step. And so we're just going to stay there. Let's just stay there. Political legitimacy is a term in political science. So we're talking political science now. And political science is the consent of the people. When you hear someone say the government and the people, that's already a misconception. I don't care what they say after that, because they use the coordinated conjunction and. The people are the government. Once again, the phrase, the people used in a political sense is the repository of the collective sovereignty of the people vested in a constitution exercised through their qualified elected representatives. That's very important. We have another question. Do risk management have a web page where we can look it up on all state official bond numbers? Could they just look up risk management for their particular state? What
Yeah,
say
you
you?
can you got to go to whatever your they break it down to cities and counties, right? So you're dealing with a municipal court or district court, or you dealing with that within that framework. You got to go to the county and you got to deal with it. If you're dealing on the federal level, you got to go to that district. If you're dealing on the state level, dealing with the city or something like that, that's you're gonna deal with the county and the city to pour such bond. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna file a claim against you and them because you're gonna collect all the evidence. You're gonna show where they publicly charge you as an officer. And when you get because when I showed you immunity says you cannot hold exemption, mean you don't have an office or anything that can be held. All of this got to be in your contracts too, family. This is why I talk about contract law. If you most of y'all know when I read y'all paperwork gonna be right because you don't meet all the elements necessary to qualify for the tax exemption. Let me go over this before we're gonna look at the 14-point test before we get out of here, so y'all can understand what's going on with the Internal Revenue Service. To qualify for these 14 Internal Revenue Service y'all need to know this. I think I went over this before. Let me get this back. And I'm just gonna show y'all some of the stuff that y'all need to understand dealing having these tax exemptions. This is called the BRAFB Guide for Church Qualification. Now y'all need to I forgot what it stands for. So this is what it says. If an organization is part of a traditional recognized religious denomination, then the organization should provide a letter or letterhead stating this is the case. In such instance, the 14-point test is not necessary. Ain't none of y'all following these instructions. Some examples traditionally recognized religious denominations include Southern Baptist, United Methodist, uh, um, what is that? Presbyterian, Lutheran, Mennonite, um, Episcopal, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, and Buddhist. See, it tell you got to send a letter. Once you're one of these, under these, automatically you qualify. Y'all ain't doing that. Y'all got to send this to the IRS. If an organization is not part of the traditionally recognized religious denomination, then the 14-point test shall be administered. While the IRS does not provide specific guidance as how many of the 14-point tests must be met for the organization to qualify as a church, the BRAFB generally requires that a minimum of 11 points be met. Organizations, don't cut that up. Cut that down. Cut that down. Organizations do not meet the 11-point test may nevertheless be eligible. However, this determination must be made on a case-by-case basis under the BRAFB management and, if appropriate, legal counsel. The 14-point test should be filled out at the breadth membership application. In addition, the applicant organization should provide a letter on its letterhead provided for the information and explanation. So it goes through this. Y'all need to learn this. I'm not gonna go over everything. I'll probably go over this. We already 2 hours in. I'll probably go over this at another time. Ain't nobody teaching y'all this. I already know ain't nobody teaching y'all this. You don't have the information to go in there and get your tax exemption status so they can stop charging you with all of these crimes and start charging you with this stuff so that you already meet. And then if you have all the necessary documents and qualifications from the proper authorities, they're going to leave you alone. But nobody's teaching you this because ain't nobody explaining this to you because everybody is half-assing. So I'm showing you how to get your remedy. I didn't make this up. I'm showing you this is what the 14-point test, this is what our Internal Revenue Service used. So let me show you what immunity mean again. Let's go back. Let's go back. So for those who might have came in a little late before I go, let's go back to immunity once again, because I'm about to get up out of here. Immunity means exemption, as from serving in an office or performing duties which the law generally requires other citizens to perform. Freedom from duty or penalty. You dealing with what? Penal codes. You're dealing with penal codes. When they charge you, you're dealing with a penal code. If you got your tax exemption, stop. I ain't taking you with me no more at all. If you got your tax exemption, this is prima facie evidence on his face. Will prove your case. So y'all got to understand this so people can stop. So now I can show you how you get your tax exemption and you move with the tax exemption based on the contracts and you have everything. And I'll show you how to authenticate your records. And this is because this is what I do. So when you get your passport, when you get your driver's, if you're going to get a driver's license, all the stuff that you're trying to get, they got to treat you accordingly. It says, so Moors don't have a church. You will have, that's ecclesiastical. We're under Islamic law. They recognize that under Islamic law. So we got words have power. I want y'all to understand that. Do not use the word church. Okay? So a lot of people just don't know how to utilize this information. So I'm not gonna bash no groups on how they know about using this information, but I'm showing you the source. I'm showing you the facts. All you got to do is fact check with everything I'm telling you. Everything I'm showing you, we can fact check it. That's the Internal Revenue Code, the BRAFB. You can look this up. This is what the Internal Revenue Service used. I didn't make this stuff up. So if you automatically say you're a Muslim and you doing this and you got your documents and you show everything, they're going to treat you accordingly. They can't treat you under commercially because you're dealing with an exclusive jurisdiction under Islamic basis. Now you got to understand how to move in that capacity. That's a whole nother conversation. But that's why you need to get with a brother like myself, and I can show you how to demonstrate this and show you how to get certain remedies. show you how to move in a certain capacity, right? So it says, are you saying that starting a church organization or being part of a church would benefit the Moors? Yes. If you start an Islamic tribunal, right? I show you how. Like, it's just so many parts, man. That's why I tell people y'all gotta understand contract law. Like, I do this, I really do this. And when I tell y'all, I can show y'all different things. Yeah, we dealing in contracts. They can't interfere with obligations of the contract per their own codes, per their own constitution. That has nothing to do with me. I'm just enforcing my religious rights that they say they won't encroach. And I'm using the Constitution as an exhibit, as a certified copy. I file it into the record. I get that certified copy back. You got to understand how to utilize this information. Corporations can only speak to statutes and codes. So you use those statutes and codes. You get them certified by either by Congress or the General Assembly of your state. They send you a certified copy of that statute with the trust minutes, verifying the intent and purpose of the statute. So now nobody can misconstrue what's supposed to go on. You hold them with their head up under the water. I can show y'all a variation of a lot of different legal strategies that most of y'all don't know because most of the people are not haven't been in the courtroom enough to truly litigate, to really eyeball this information like I have, who've been down to the law library and won enough cases on appeal and on the district court level and on the federal and state district court level, on the appeal level, on the federal or state level. Um, just being able to present this information, just knowing what to present. So it's 2 hours and 12 hours in. So I gave everybody an opportunity. So thank y'all. This is your boy King El Bey with Abdullah. You want to say anything, Abdullah, before we leave?
Yes. The once again we have the Moorish, the Moorish Governance Birthright Nationality Claim Conference this on May 18th, Saturday, May 18th, 2024, here in Philadelphia at 800 Albany Avenue, Majestic Hall, 800 West Albany Avenue. And so we have the flyer and the Eventbrite link is pinned on my Facebook page at Abdullah Bey's Facebook page. So looking forward to King will be in the house. So I'll meet King for the first time in person. So King will be here in Philadelphia on May 17th. Looking forward to giving the brother a hug. You know, he's doing a wonderful job. I greatly, it's been like I reached out to King 2 years ago. I messaged him 2 years ago and he responded. And we've been working together. He's been on the Moorish Monday, my platform that on the Crystal Pyramid platform on YouTube page, and brother Hank had set aside Moorish Monday for me, which is on every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll have King again this upcoming Monday, and so I'm looking forward to that. King has also presented like 4 classes on our Moroccan Post School of Government International Law classes that we had every Wednesday and every other Wednesday that can be found on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. So we have the same ones to see y'all. Like I said, the conference once again is this on May 18th. So thank
I
you
got
again.
one
So we
more
also
comment. I got this.
yes.
She got a question. I think this. Can
Mhm.
you address this, Abdullah?
All right. I was born in Harlem, but both my parents were born in Barinka. Would I use the Treaty of Paris or British treaties? I know I am a Moor. All right. The Treaty of Paris, there's the Treaty of Paris between Great Britain and the United States. There's a 1783 that applies. We're not you're not party to your treaty, so we're not Moors are not party to that treaty. All right. So you say to use the treaty, you have if that treaty protects the interests of British subjects, you know, who had who were granted personal rights through religious societies, universities. There were you have the towns that were created on the letters of patent, the Dungan patent. All right, and also you have those. So that doesn't apply. You cannot use that treaty there you mentioned or British treaties. So British treaties. You have treaties between Morocco and Great Britain, between Morocco and England, between Morocco and Great Britain. All right, uh, those treaties. You have the General Treaty of 1856 between Morocco and Great Britain, 1856, which is a very comprehensive treaty. In fact, that treaty is one of the treaties that was referenced in the case summary of the 1952 case between France and the United States. United States United States received protection. The United States used that treaty between Great Britain and Morocco, the 1856 treaty. Used that treaty for tax protections. They used that treaty for protection against taxes. All right, they did use that treaty because in that treaty. So how can the United States, Abdullah, use that treaty between Morocco and Great Britain? Because in that treaty, it makes reference to any state by conquest, any state that was created by Great Britain by conquest or treaty. That's the United States. So that's why the United States used that 1856 treaty between Morocco and Great Britain. And that is in the case summary. So look up the case summary of the 1952 case between France and the United States. That's the most favored nation clause case. All right. I said before, once again, there was the primary type of treaties that France stood on was the Moorish bilateral treaties with 10 European powers, Moorish treaties with France and with Portugal and United States and Denmark and Sardinia and Sweden and Belgium between 1631 to 1892. I have those treaties listed, has excerpts of some of the treaties, and all the treaties between Morocco and France, Morocco and England, Tunis in England, Tripoli in England, and the Moors and Masonry Part 1. Go to moorsandmasonry.org to get Moors and Masonry Part 1. Get Moors and Masonry Part 2, Masonic Compass of Square, the connection to measurement, timekeeping, etymology, vocabulary, submit you 1, how Moon and Venus rule, the Illuminati, illumination mind. Go to Moors and Masonry Part 1, moorsandmasonry.org. Also on the Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law, have her free classes on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We also have paid classes, but on we have free classes offered on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We have the Moorish Body Politic Formation Constitutional Government Principle course class, with by 12 classes. We have the Moorish Treaty Protection and Conservation classes, which embodies about courses 101 and 201, which embodies about 12 or 13 classes. All right. Also, King I taught about 4 classes. Is on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. All right. We have the Moroccan Post School of Government International Law Advanced Study Group. We also had the Moroccan Post School Government of International Advanced Study Group Telegram page. All right. So once again, King and I discussed prior to coming on. I will help him structure a 12-week law course, which will be taught starting in September of this year for 12 consecutive Saturdays or Sundays. And we won't start marketing that until June. The course will be $300, but we won't start marketing until June, which will be after the conference. All right. I will meet with King and we can start doing some preliminary planning. All right. And we'll bring May Moon in to help us with the graphics, and the charts will be colorful graphics and charts. So we're going to be well organized and professional. All right. You're going to do it right. So I'm looking forward to working with King on that project. As you know, I've been working with Shim for 5 years. I've sat down with Shim for hours upon hours upon hours and building curriculum, and I will do the same with King. So I'm looking forward to this. All right. Thank you again, King. You've done a wonderful job.
All right, thank you everybody for showing up. I appreciate the support. Check out my YouTube page at the Moorish Universal Society of Tribes. I got a plethora of information. I got a child support book, How to Stop Child Support. I'll be coming out with more literature and more information and books soon. So you guys, let me make out a point about your religious exemption, about books and materials. When you sell your books and materials, it have to be in reference to religious topics. It cannot be taxed. So I will show you how to set up your organization and how to move on the other side of the fence until we finish setting up the government so we can have the infrastructure that we need. Okay? We need to get everything done the right way. So on that note, I want to say peace and love to everybody, and let's get up. I'm getting up out of here, so I'm out. Okay, peace and love.
Peace and love, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.